So good stuff. So how long has Unboxed Advisors been in business now? How many days?
We just launched this July the 19th.
July 19th. Woo! Cool. This is like breakout, one unboxing of Unboxed Advisors right on Vision Pros
Streaming.
Live. That's super
Yeah.
fun. Awesome.
Yeah.
And you've been a CPA for how many years? Sorry to put that on you.
21 years.
21 years. So you started at 10?
I
At age
started.
10?
Yeah. I started at age 10. Yeah.
All right. 21 years. And how many team members do you have in this, in the current and Unboxed Advisors right now?
Right now, there's 3 of us.
Cool.
And we've got plans to add a couple more advisors within the next 3-6 months. So we
Okay.
really
So
want
you're
to
looking for great advisors out there to join you.
absolutely.
Right, as you grow. And all right, welcome in to Vision What's the Client Act Live with Jackson Callum. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. Episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your host, Jackson Callum, founder and CEO of First Class Business. And I have Susan Bryant, CPA, on the show. She's got other acronym titles, but those are outside of my ballpark. I don't do acronyms. So she can teach us about what those are. Or if you're listening and you know what she does, then you'll be up to speed. But if you don't, those are opportunities for you, myself, and all the visionaries out there to level up and make sure that you understand what her skill sets are and why those things might matter. Because one of the greatest things we're guilty of as entrepreneurs is delegation by abdication. When I first heard that, I looked that word up. I had no idea what it meant. And that was last year. And I was like, okay, I think I get the concept of the idea. Like I should probably delegate responsibly is what's being alluded to. But I looked it up and sure enough, abdication is basically taking what you don't want to do and placing it on the shoulders of somebody else and saying, you do it, I'm done with this. And then unplugging and never really learning what they're up to. And if there's 2 areas that I see entrepreneurs doing that in most commonly, it is HR and finances. And when I'm talking about entrepreneurs, I'm talking about those who aren't investment bankers at hand, those who aren't financial advisors. You're a financial advisor and you're delegating your finances irresponsibly. I don't know what you're doing in life. But that said, I digress. My sponsors, Icon Maker Live and capshow.com. Icon Maker Live helps people launch $1 million podcasts. They start with the process of helping you figure out what your high ticket offer is and build a sustainable business model, and then going towards the route of launching your own podcast after learning how to get on other people's shows. It's all about the OPP, other people's podcasts. With that said, that's also why Susan Bryant is coming on this show. That's why if you're a professional and you want to get hosted on a show, this is a great place to be. We're constantly looking for people to bring on, share your hero story, meet some of our audience members, of course, and also get the hang of sharing your vision with others, because that's what people really care about. Your product or your service is secondary. There's millions of people who do what you do. But what makes you, you is what people really care about when they consider who they're going to bring in to help them with whatever it is that you do. That said, capshow.com, capsho.com, the #1 ranked AI copywriting generating system for podcasters by digitalmarketer.com. Again, I highly recommend this as well. Even if you're not in the podcast space, if you have content that you're trying to get out there, this is an opportunity to upload your audio or video file. And then they give you a couple of free credits with our affiliate link. I think you get 1 or 2 extra. And you can go in there. What I recommend doing is upload the episode or upload your audio and video file, and then just click as fast as you can on all the content creation buttons and let that AI go to work for you. Don't even think about it. Just get it all done first, because it's going to write your copy for you. And then from there, you can decide which elements of that copy you want to use. Do you want to make any tweaks to it? It does things like create sound bites for you as well by taking different portions of your episode and splicing those together. It can save you a world of time, or it can put you light years ahead of where you would be without such a tool. Their testimonials are fantastic. Their case studies are fantastic. And it's obvious when you go into their community and you see how well they support you and help you with your growth and how much they love being there for creators like you and me. With that said, we've got the Water Project as well. that I should say we've got it. I don't have any affiliation with the water project. I just freaking love the vision. I love what they do. It's an opportunity to give back to communities who have super, super severe needs. These are people who don't have access to clean drinking water, and you get to see what projects are available to support and help. You get to then donate either your dollar or $10 million, whatever you have disposable, to help them with growth. And you get to see the impact as it happens because they share on social media exactly what they've done. They're empowering these communities to know how to maintain these systems as well. That way the system has sustainable filtered water henceforth. And you can imagine over 10, 20, 30 years, what that probably does for the people who live there. So I hope you take the opportunity to either give back to that, or if you challenge me and you're like, I know a better charity, well, go give to them. Use this moment to be inspired to go give back. So without further ado, I've got Susan Bryant coming on board, as I said, to talk to us about finances and how her vision's unfolding with Unboxed Advisors. She is new to her business, not new to business, and not new to the game of helping with finances. So I'm excited to unlock her vision. Susan, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, super excited to be here. Thank you so much, Jackson. It's great to be part of the show.
Absolutely. So, Susan, let's dive right in. Who should be listening? Why should they listen to you specifically? And what are they going to get out of today's show, do you think?
So, business owners, entrepreneurs, people who are ready to break free from I would say it is this chaos that has enveloped them because they have so many different things coming at them, with the finances being one of the key components, but also because they know that everything that's happening in their business that is going to either go right or go wrong is going to show up in that set of financials. So people who sort of understand that connection, and they want a better way. They want to talk about what should be happening versus what is happening. When you talk to someone who has an accounting background, like who has this, who is a CPA or is assisting small business owners, in attempting to grow.
Good.
So why should they listen to me? Well, I wouldn't say that I am the expert on all things, but I am a curious person. And so I'm always wanting to learn more about what other people do and how they make money. And that gives me a unique perspective because I've really applied that in my whole life. And so I've gathered a lot of information working with thousands of different types of businesses over in the course of my profession, in my career. And so I really believe that gives me an ability to speak to business owners in a way where we can take information and cross apply it to other situations. So I think that's what I would say.
Nice. I love it. And you covered quite a bit of the vision as well of what you do to serve those that you're working with. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So I know it says in 30 seconds, but you have more time. Let's expound. What does that vision look like for those that you serve? Who do you, again, specifically, who do you love to work with? And we'll go from there.
So my vision is to restore the CPA profession to what it once was. And that is that we are more than just transaction-oriented, compliance-generating, report-making machines. And we have ample time. And so my vision is that we have ample time to ask questions, to truly advise holistically our clients so that they are making more money, that they are saving money, and they are protecting their wealth. Right now, the way that CPA firms are structured, it is just transactional. It's send your information in, we'll produce a report or a return, and we'll send it back out. And there is not enough time, capacity, bandwidth, or even initiative on the part of CPAs to say, this has to end. We must stop because we are not serving our clients to the best of our ability.
Yes. Okay. So this is interesting. You use the word restore, and I take it that's before my time, because what you describe is what I've pretty much always seen at any company I've worked with. So when was that time frame when things used to function that way, or what companies are doing that you admire?
Yeah, I think there's been a few things that have contributed to this overabundance of compliance work, and that is the tax law has changed dramatically. And legislation keeps on coming and coming and coming. Just think about the stuff from COVID, the employee retention credit, PPP loans. I mean, the tax law that was just preceding that in 2018 was like the biggest overhaul since 1986. We had more legislation. Like it's just constant. Even like things like the Wayfair case law that changed sales tax nexus. That's an accounting issue. So those types of compliance issues and this overabundance of compliance work have caused accountants to just become, they just keep taking on more and more and more clients instead of saying, I'm not taking any more clients. I just want to serve the ones that I have. So I think that to me is the difference in what it is that should be the vision for accountants. It's not sell as much work as you can and try to produce as many returns. The vision really needs to be, how do we work with just the right number of customers and help them to achieve a transformation from where they are to where they want to become, and work together to make sure that that is financially viable for both parties.
Nice. Very cool. And so I'm going to shift a little more personally here. I love the business vision. We're going to come back to that and talk in depth about how you got there, how you uncovered that, how that could affect people who are listening in today. But what's your personal vision? What are you up to as a person? What do you want to accomplish over the next 10, 15, 20 years?
As a person, I view myself as an agent of positive change. That's just how I've always kind of referred to myself. So my personal vision is to just leave an indelible mark on as many people as I can and help as many people as I can as both a professional and as a friend. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of cases, those kind of get blurry, right? My professional acquaintances and networking partners often become really good friends. And just lift up as many people as possible by being of service to them. So that's my vision. I hope to always be a great mom. And a great wife and a great daughter and a great aunt. So all those personal relationships are really important to me. I hope to get better at them. I would say that as an accountant, I've made a lot of sacrifices over the years in terms of time with my kids and, relationships along the way. So it's becoming more and more important to me as I get older to really take the time to make sure that people know how important they are and show them and show up and be present in all the right ways.
That's awesome. I'm glad you incorporated that. And it's such a tempting thing. I'm not going to call anybody out specific that's been on the show, but it's so tempting to answer that personal vision question where you circle it back to your audience and why it matters about what you're doing for people. And that's cool. And I get that. But I think it's helpful for people to know who the leaders are out there that are also human, and then also care about their family, and care about those aspects of life. So thank you for sharing that boldly. And I am one of the people who puts family first. Like I'm dad before I'm CEO, and everything. And, I've been a stay-at-home dad since I was 21. I haven't been perfect at it. I have my errors and the things I lose sight of as well. But I think there's great opportunity for corporations and professionals to try to make more room for the balance and the victories that could come from doing just that. So very wise of you. Anything you want to add?
I would just say that you just can't get that time back. So choose wisely. That's
right. Well said. Bittersweet. And
bittersweet.
Most of us listening can appreciate that. And so, again, we're going to dive into a darker subject. What's your worst business experience ever?
Oh man. Are we talking about like client experience? Are we talking about business partner experience?
I promise not to dictate. I will let you choose that route. Let's think, I would say, think in your heart and your mind, whoever's listening in, like what might they benefit the most from? What story?
Okay. So I think at some point there was a question like on Facebook or something. What would you tell your younger self? And I remember thinking to myself, the first thing I would tell myself is always have my own legal counsel. Okay, so even when you think someone is looking out for you and they are, oh, but you trust them and they're going to give you a great job and pay you good money and blah, blah, blah. You get your own attorney and you make sure that every document is written that protects you in the right way. That's would be my like from a bad business experience. I would just make sure that you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed in every legal document you sign. Make sure you know
Ooh.
what is going to what might hurt you and what might help you. So
It is interesting what superpowers come from our traumas.
true.
You know,
Absolutely.
I hear it, and I would second that. I think it's very wise for people. You don't want to get stuck living in fear, but you also have a duty to learn how to protect yourself. As a business owner, you are vulnerable in so many different ways,
Hmm.
and some of us are more risk tolerant than others. Some of us recover, or like the recovery process, I guess, more than others. But that's not necessarily a good thing.
It's
But
not.
I would say you want to be prudent about that. Do you have any? I mean, this is outside of your scope, and I get that. Nobody here listening right now can listen to me for for financials, for legal advice. Let me just put all the compliance stuff down right now. We're speaking friend to friend right now. But Susan, where do you recommend they turn for that?
Well, I think you have to build a team of people around you. And this is one of the things that we like to do at our firm is we call it the ICO 25, in case of emergency 25. There's 25 different roles that need to be filled to surround you as a business owner. And a lot of that translates into personal as well. There's some overlap sometimes, like insurance is both business and personal.
Mhm.
Financial advisor might do both the company 401k and maybe your personal investments, right? So sometimes there's some overlap there, but it's really sort of building this network of people around you who can help you. Now,
Mm.
I would say if I was going to talk to 28-year-old Susan and say, hey, who are you going to call as an attorney to look out for you? I don't think I had a network at that time where I would have known who to call. So that's where I would say the first thing is build a network. I don't care how young you are, if you're in corporate America, if you are in an advice, professional services, network with people, build a network, go create a LinkedIn, go talk to people, meet with people, have coffee, create the Rolodex. Maybe it's digital now and not necessarily
Mhm.
paper based, but create this system for yourself. Stay in touch with these people. Don't be afraid to refer business and build your own set of trusted advisors who eventually you will begin to lean on as you move forward in your career and as you meet people who need them, and it will be win-win for you in the end.
Wow. I love this. This is going to be one of my favorite episodes. I think for a very long time. And here's why. Most of us as visionaries live in the future. We're looking at the future, but from the standpoint of like what we could accomplish, where we can go with it, the service we could provide. What's so interesting about your vision is, and it's funny too. Today I also interviewed Neil Katz. Great interview. He also brought up networking as an important element. So he brought in the people that had to do with the vision, but you've also brought up the structure of legalities and the people as they pertain to the existing entity. And what it reminds me of is, and this is all a giant game to me, by the way, visionaries, like everybody's listening, like this is all, it's supposed to be a game. Have some fun with it. But
Right.
what I see when you're talking about vision is I don't see a light speed direction towards this thing you're endlessly hoping for. You're like talking about like building a city, laying the roads that interconnect, the buildings. You've kind of got me grounded on the here and now in a
Hmm.
visionary way, which is really unique and cool. I appreciate it. So like I'm like, oh yeah, the Rolodex. Oh, I take that for granted. I back up my contacts at least once a year, and get them onto multiple email accounts. I've never told anybody that, right? And I don't remember who taught me that, but some old dude a long time ago probably taught me to do that.
Yeah.
And those are again those things like you don't want to go through the nightmare of missing out on the foundation of your vision. That's what it is. It's foundation. I kind of got the
Yeah,
wrong
it
symbol.
is foundational. You're right. And it is sort of, maybe I think I really like that analogy of sort of it being like a city, because I believe that what we have, we just have to sort of reorganize it both in our mind and I guess in some type of reality. And once we do, it's more geared towards helping us to achieve those purposes, right?
Yeah.
We can't completely throw out, like, we can't throw out my entire profession, right? Like, although some people have said it needs to die,
Ah,
however,
some people
there,
say stupid things. Just
right, and
saying.
that's true. I mean, there's some business models and strategies I think we can all say, okay, everyone just needs to stop doing that because it doesn't work. We don't like it, right? So if we all spent time and we kind of reorganized our reality into something that had a better foundation, it sort of becomes like a trampoline, right? It's this, can give you this springboard to the future. And that's sort of what I like to think about when I think about what we're creating at Unboxed is, we're not going to throw it all out, but we are going to reorganize it. And maybe it's like turning over the puzzle pieces so that we can have a better picture, right? And actually have more clarity going forward instead of it being so fuzzy. Like, does my CPA do that? Who does that? Like, there's a new law that just got passed called the
Hmm.
Corporate Transparency Act. And one of the questions out among professionals is, are the accountants going to do that? Are the attorneys visited? Like, who's going to do it? Like, because the accountants don't want any more to do.
Right. I bet attorneys don't either. Just guessing.
Yeah.
But
Well, they
depends
still
on the
bill by
city
the
you're in.
hour. So,
Right. That's true. That's true.
mhm.
CTP, Certified Treasury, or what is that?
Certified tax planner.
Oh, Certified Tax Planner. Okay. I
Yes.
went too far. I was looking on Google too. I was like, hold on. What is Certified Treasury Professional? That sounds
Yeah.
fun.
For a banker, that would be a good thing to have. So, a certified tax planner. So, there's a organization called the American Institute of Certified Tax Planners.
Okay.
And believe it or not all accountants think strategically.
Go
I
figure.
find this hard to believe, but this
Really?
is a very true statement. Yes. So a
Aren't
lot
they
of
human?
times,
I find
people.
humans make a lot of errors, me included, by the way. So it doesn't surprise me.
I was kind of surprised to learn this.
Okay.
However, in the process of preparing a tax return, one of the things that you have to do is you have to think about all the possible ways that you could avoid tax through, legal, changes in operation, entity organization, and other advanced tax reduction strategies. Like, and there's lots of them to explore. But most people preparing tax returns just put the numbers in, send it out, and don't even ever think about it. And that is like, wow, mind blowing to me. So when I started really getting into tax planning several years ago, and it was like, we set an initial goal. I remember one year to save people $750,000, and like within the first week, it was like the whole, like the little thermometer, like completely filled up. I was like, we're gonna need to raise the goal. Like, how much more millions of dollars are we gonna save people? And so over the course of the last 4 years, I've saved people in excess of $25 million in taxes.
Woo!
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's crazy amounts of money. And
Big government's not happy with you, by the way, about that.
that's
But
right. No,
the rest of us are. So
I am the IRS's enemy, I guess, in a way, but not really, because
I know.
there's actually an author by the name of Tom Wheelwright. He's wrote a really awesome book, and it talks about how the government is really your partner in your business. I mean, that's kind of a weird way to think about it.
Yeah, in Texas, you're not going to get very far with that
Yeah.
voiced message. I get that, but I think it's worth it to hear the outside perspectives, and so I'd love to hear it. What is he
It is
saying?
so. I mean, the kind of concept is the tax code is like the government's way of being your business partner in a way. I mean, they don't own any part of your company, but for every, they're going to give you the ability to take deductions, right? And maybe you have a loss in the current year when you start your business, but next year when you make money, you'll have the ability, you won't get the benefit of those deductions from the prior year because you would have taken those losses before. And so now you have to share in the income, share tax, have a greater amount of tax due on that income because now you got to share more with the government because you benefited from the prior year by taking the losses. So, I mean, when you start to think about it that way, I was like, that's actually sort of a positive way to kind of look at the IRS.
Right.
So, it's
I
not.
think it's so liberating to try to do that because, it's very rare that something is inherently evil or inherently good.
Right.
Right. And you got
Yeah.
people who've made improvements to the tax processes. You have people who've screwed it up, probably. You have people who have to try to fix that. Right. And so it's a constant balance of trying, and the system's so large, there's millions and millions of people, but you can cry about it, you can moan about it, you can, and then accept it, or you can learn to utilize it for your benefit. But as an entrepreneur, that's not my job. I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to run my business and run the city, not mess with the sewer lines of the business or the bank vaults of the
Yeah.
business, right? There's other people who are supposed to do those aspects. And that's where somebody like you comes in. It sounds like sounds like you kind of get a kick out of learning those things.
Yeah. So the great thing about every business is every business is different. So the learning curve is like, it's cool to me to learn how somebody is making money because I've been surprised over the years, like, wow, they're making money doing that. Okay, cool. That's awesome. And then just the way that a business is organized, how they staff things, divide work, operations, all different. All of them are very different because the people who founded them and kind of cast their vision, they're different. So it's great to come in and kind of learn like what it is that they want to accomplish. So similar to the questions you're asking me, people have questions or they have goals that are financial related. So whether that's I want to buy sell my business one day and retire, or I want to run it passively, get investors. I mean, lots of different options. Give it to your kids or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's nice to sort of understand sort of where they're going and what is in their mind, not only what they want to accomplish in terms of purpose and their mission, but also in terms of like that what that means financially. Because there's usually a number that accompanies that. Like I'll know I've accomplished my mission when, and I also have X dollars in the bank.
Right. Absolutely. That makes sense. So let's talk real quick about, I shouldn't say real quick, but what's your best experience in business?
Hmm. I think one of my best experiences was creating this opportunity for a business owner to protect an immense amount of their wealth by both saving taxes and leveraging a really advanced strategy. It was super complex, but it resulted in for this was a young he was younger on the younger side, early 30s, running a business, profitable business. And the strategy that we created, when he's in his 60s, he'll have access to, in excess of $10 million of after tax income. Just like
Mm.
money is just sitting there, like to do whatever he wants, pay taxes, buy property, blah, blah, whatever you want. Like that type of financial freedom to me, like being able to help somebody achieve that is remarkable.
It's
Um,
one in a million,
yeah.
or more. And that is pretty cool. So where do you think you would have been had he not worked with you? Just curious. Think you would have figured it out, or what could have happened? What does happen when they don't have
Um,
the right person?
Usually people, as you know, most entrepreneurs choose the path of least resistance when it comes to
Mm,
accounting, taxes, and financial planning. And the path of least resistance is do nothing.
well said.
I'll
Keep
stay
going.
with the same accountant. I'll stay with the same financial advisor because it's a pain in the what to change.
Yeah.
And that lack of action is what hurts them the most. So, and I totally get it that like when you got started, it was your dad's accountant, or your roommate from college, your frat brother from whatever. I get it. Okay. but you got to, as your company begins to become a little bit more sophisticated, you got to go back and evaluate those relationships, because I will tell you, in most cases where people have friends who are helping them, their friends are not doing them any favors. They've taken that relationship for granted. Like, they're charging them very much to do it, but they're not helping them either. So, and maybe that would be like, Susan, maybe that, what's your best advice in business? Like, pay
Mhm.
for good professional advice. Pay the money. It's worth it. You are the beneficiary as the person making the payment. You will win every time. It might seem like, wow, that's a lot of money, but you will ultimately, like, it will pay dividends down the road.
Yes. All right. So let me switch this screen thing up. I want to pull that comment back up. I went ahead and posted it for us. Um, because and it's probably not going to be every entrepreneur's favorite quote ever to hear, right? We're not winning massive friends here, but I'm going to double down with you on this because I support it, and we need our vegetables as much as we may enjoy our desserts, right? Most
I agree.
entrepreneurs choose the path of least resistance, right? And that makes sense in life, right? When you got so many things going on and so much to do, it makes sense to try to do that. But another way of saying that is you're taking shortcuts. Another way of saying that is you're kind of falling for the get rich quick traps, right?
Being
Those are all
lazy.
yeah, and I don't know if you can call an entrepreneur lazy. I guess it reminds me of the job people you talked about, with somebody who just files a tax return and doesn't think about it. Like, yeah, there are some who think that entrepreneurship is just funny games. Those are more independent contractors, though. I don't think they call themselves entrepreneurs at that
Yeah.
stage. I didn't when I was a lazy independent contractor. I hadn't quite graduated the, do I call myself an entrepreneur yet or not? But I think this is so critical for people to hear and wake up and realize, like, hey, um, the path of least resistance. There's a lot of dangers around that path, versus doing things the right way.
Yeah.
You and we help entrepreneurs almost in a similar capacity. I did use that city analogy on accident for the purpose of the foundation, but it is one I use often with entrepreneurs, right?
Hmm.
So when you're building a business, you have all sorts of different things that are priorities. Depends on who you're working with, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So some people are like, oh my gosh, I would never have a city without a fire department. And somebody else is going to be like, yeah, but what about the hospital? That needs to come first. And somebody else is going to say, but the police station, because otherwise we're all going to attract nothing but criminals.
Yeah.
Right. And so each element, well, our businesses are the same way, right? Do I mess with finances first? Do I do vision? Do I get my product and service out there first, etc.? How do you go about deciding how to guide entrepreneurs down that pathway? What do you start with, or do you let them figure that out?
Yeah, so we actually have created a 6-step onboarding process. So we spend
Hmm.
about 2 hours a week.
That
For,
sounds so planted. I just want everybody to know I did not plant that. We did not plan the 6 step
no,
process.
no, this is
But
totally
like,
random.
I'm cool with it. I'm excited to hear about it. Sorry, go ahead.
Um,
6 steps.
so this it we created this because most of the time when accountants become involved in the business, it's really just to kind of do what I would call like an order list, right? Like, okay, you need to file an 1120S. We're going to do your payroll, monthly bank reconciliations, produce your W-2s at the end of the year. Like, we're just making a list of all the things that need to get done.
Mhm.
And we've sort of erased that. Yes, those things need to get done. But where we really need to start is by asking these bigger questions. Not because I'm the person who can solve all of these things. Like, I'm not an attorney, I'm not an HR expert. I don't know everything there is to know about sales and marketing. But it's my job to ask the questions so we know what's on the business owner's mind, uncover just question after question after question. Because in order to achieve true transformation, we have to know where it is they think they are and where it is they want to go. So this change in state, right? So it's like, caterpillar to butterfly kind of thing, right? This is where you are, this is where you want to be. So the goal is to go through and ask all of these questions in a regimented way. We give them homework, there's quizzes, and the idea is that we're creating this roadmap for them, and by the end of that onboarding process we basically have a list of priorities of all the things that we are going to go through and help them to kind of quarterback. And this is where we're different, and kind of why I think this is such a great need in the marketplace. So many business owners, I can't even tell you the number of times I've suggested great idea after great idea to business owner, like, you guys should really implement a 401k. And they're like, that's a great idea. I need to do that. And the financial advisor sends over the paperwork, and first question they get to is, what's the match going to be? And they're like, I don't know. How much can I afford? I don't know what to do. And then they just like mark unread in the inbox, and it just sits there, right? That's the stuff where I feel like we need to be more involved as a part of the advisory team of say, hey, let's factor that into forecast. And you can see scenario 1, 2, and 3 at a 3, 4, or 5% match. What do you want to do? This is how it's going to impact your profitability. This is how it's going to impact taxes. This is how it's going to impact cash. Those are the types of things, like painting a little bit of a vision of the future for them. That's the stuff they need. And then take the paperwork away from them. Like, it's not on your to-do list anymore. We'll do it for you, so we can be both this is like done with you and done for you. A little bit of both. Like, they need somebody to hold their hand, but at the same time, they need somebody they can actually pass the baton to and say, you got this? Yeah, I got it. Okay.
I know. And people are so, again, I love that you use that term, path of least resistance. Like, we love our acronyms as entrepreneurs. We want everything simplified into 3 letters. But at the same time, like, let's, take a step back there. And I'm glad you did. I also catch that you're a very nurturing individual. So I'd feel comfortable asking you dumb questions. And that's an important thing when you're dealing with 401ks, or you're dealing with benefits and all these things. So it's nice to have a CPA who doesn't talk over your head.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that your audience knows. Like, I mean, you made a list of the things you got to learn when you start a business. I mean, I mean, even just like setting up social media accounts. I mean, it's all really hard. And
there's one ebook that did not do very well, and that was the 101,000 steps to setting up. But just kidding. But it's about like that. I've tried many times.
It is, right? And you have to learn all those things. I feel like, especially with accounting, money, it makes people really nervous. They know that cash is the life, blood of their business. If they don't get the finances right, like, it's disastrous. They also have a lot personally on the line, and it's really not even like the business bank account. It's like they don't want to fail, right? They really want to do a good job. They really want to help people. I mean, they got into this for a reason. So sometimes people come to me and their books are like, they're messy, right? Because they're not accountants when they started it. They kind of just pieced it together. And sometimes they can feel a lot of shame around that. And my advice to people when they start to kind of feel that way, it's like, it's okay. Just know that you are not alone. Every mistake you've made as a business owner when it comes to accounting or taxes, everyone else has made those too.
Yeah. And I like this quote that you guys have here. I had to bring it up. I was like, all right, I'm going to bring this up right now just to look at it, because, that's what we should be on the lookout for, is somebody who can help us feel empowered to be able to break free of that, who's actually going to be the support. And I hope some of the people listening gather that from you.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I really hope people will go back and kind of I don't want them to tolerate a bad relationship with someone, especially for accounting and taxes, because it's too important to their business. Like, don't tolerate bad service. If somebody doesn't call you back, they don't get your return on time, they don't respond, they don't explain things clearly, find somebody different. There are much better people out there. Just don't tolerate bad. Don't do it. Like, it's hurting you more to not have the right advisor in that area of your business.
Yep, absolutely. We're not going to talk about it today, but finding your exit strategies too, and how you go about that is mission critical. Whether that's talking to somebody like myself or Susan, trying to find out, like, well, how do I go about that? How does this transition take place in a way that doesn't piss off the person who's been managing my finances for X amount of years?
Or better yet, have a conversation that includes both advisors in that capacity, because
Right.
then it's like everybody's knowledge, like in the room, helping you to get the most out of your enterprise. I mean,
Yep.
it's
And I think too, we're not going to cover it, but there are protections when it comes to CPAs and CTPs that exist to protect you as a business owner if you end up in a situation where somebody's not playing nice. And those are things that don't exist for marketers, for instance, or operations individuals. They don't have those types of checks and balances that exist. But if you don't know what they are, that's another thing to ask Susan about and turn to her about. I don't have the answer for that. I would go to a number of different CPAs. I would ask all three of them. I'm super skeptical when it comes to stuff about compliance, and it's because I don't know enough about it. So
yeah.
I want to be well protected. I'll ask somebody old, I'll ask somebody young, and I'll ask somebody who I find very intelligent and open on the matter. And then I'll take all three of those pieces of advice and piece together what I think is the best path for me now that I'm a little bit more well informed on the subject. So if you're listening in and some of the stuff is going over your head, um, know that I have full confidence that Susan will break it down for you in a patient way. On the flip side, if you're listening, you're like, guys, talk about more depth. Well, we're just trying not to leave people out in the process. I think Susan could go as deep as needed when it comes to tax planning and finances and what else you could do. The 6-step process makes sense. What you should be looking at is the fundamentals of the individual that I have on this interview, and I find them sound. So what powerful lesson can other visionaries learn about your experience, from your experience so far in running your business?
Um, so I actually wrote a little booklet called The Secret Sauce to Unboxed Success, and sort of did like a brain dump of like all the things that over the course of my career, I'm like, okay, here's everything you need to know. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like that might be like version one right now. I might have like version two in like a few years, because it keeps evolving the more and more things I learn. Work and not only
Yeah.
working with like doing my own business, like running my own business, but also working with other business owners. Okay, so I would say the most powerful lesson that I have learned is that leadership matters.
Mm.
Leadership matters on everything. The absence of leadership matters.
Huh.
Leadership, 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 leadership. Everything that's happening in your business is a reflection of your own leadership.
Again, we're not making super fans here out of everybody, but I know you're making the right fans.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
they're hard lessons to learn. I mean, it's hard to see it. I mean, I would actually even go one little bit further and say that whatever you see in your financial statements is a reflection of you too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I mean, all this stuff is just, it's like a mirror. So, I do think that though your mindset and how you lead and influence, the way you dream, ideate, brainstorm, solve problems, your action oriented behavior, your core values that are driving you, the things, the passion, the conviction, all of those things to me are like the essence of leadership, right? And how you convey that to other people and help them to find all those same things in themselves. And for in a lot of cases, I'm working with business owners who they they haven't got that figured out yet. And I'm working with
Right.
my own staff who I'm trying to bring up into these roles. So
It's
it's
multifaceted.
it's multifaceted. And then you yourself are continuing to learn. I mean, like nobody has all the answers, especially on that.
No, gosh, no.
It's it's
But it
it's
is
a
that it's so humbling and so important and it's such a refreshing. I think it was refreshing for me to figure it out, to realize, to be self-aware that everything that happens in my business is my fault at the end of the day,
yep.
good and bad.
Good and bad.
Like the
Yeah.
buck stops with me with and that doesn't mean we take credit away from people. Of course you don't when you have your victories, but it's also extremely important to own things that go wrong. I just had an interesting experience right on the subject, and again, I have to own it. Realize like, okay, I made my missteps in this too. So just a minute ago, Susan was talking about her 6 steps, And I pulled myself off camera because I had to go answer the door. Somebody's knocking on my door, and they knock twice. So I know they're not going away. And I'm like, okay, interesting. What do I do here? Right. So you were in your 6 steps. I was like, okay, I'll just go answer the door. It was a client of mine who just exited with us in a non-peaceful fashion. She handed me some materials, rolled her eyes, and walked away. And it's okay. I had to come back in here anyway. I wasn't ready to talk, but and they're choosing how they want to go about this. And it's like, oh man, like right in the middle of the podcast, and those things, they happen, and we have to be willing to take a look at, okay, what can I do better in the future to provide? What can I do better to make sure I align with the people who are coming on board? What can I do to help people understand expectations as they're going to play out with working with us? Our program's 180 days. They were at day 93. So it's kind of like, well, what happened? With understanding that this program's not finished. But I digress. Point being, we all lose at times. Yeah. We all have opportunities to take a step back, and you might be great at leading the band, right, with your guitar, but that does not mean you're good at leading the concession stand. Right. And does not mean you're good at leading the financial department. That does not mean you're good at leading those 3 departments to connect together. That does not mean you're good at leading the conversations with the government in your business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's almost no end to the depths of leadership that you have to learn as an entrepreneur if you're going to win and be successful.
Yeah. I think one of the other things too that I feel like in the last year that has been becoming more and more apparent to me is that it reminds me of the movie You've Got Mail, where
good soundtrack, great soundtrack,
great soundtrack, and Tom Hanks's character is trying to starting that big giant Fox Books in her store is going to close or whatever, and they're in their little AOL chat room or whatever talking about like. He's like, well, you have to fight back, take it to the mattresses. And she's like, but it's personal. Like it starts with being personal. Mm-hmm. That I believe is the fundamental thing that we need to get back to. I think even in terms of leadership is first and foremost, it's going to be very personal. Your relationship with your staff, your customers, your vendors, all of it, it's personal. We are people. So it all starts personal first. So I would just say, like, we just have to be more human about it and less business. Like,
yeah, the logic and the heart, they got to align. At least for the types of businesses that I construct and work with, I would agree with that. And if you don't, then you find people who align with that. And good luck. May you. I wish you well. On that. So Vision Pros listening in, we'd love to know what you appreciate about this episode. Definitely leave a comment on it. If you have questions for us, let us know. I'm sure Susan would be happy to chime in. If we see it, we'll make sure to tag her if you leave a question for her. And she's got lead magnets coming out too, and different types of elements that you can go to her website and key in on. But can they connect with you on LinkedIn as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Susan Bryant. Okay. Just so it appears here on the screen, CPA, CTP. You'll find me there on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I actually just got a top voice recognition today, some type of award where I'm a top voice. I got the email and I was like, oh, what does that mean exactly? So now I can contribute to all these articles. Like, yeah, it's pretty cool. So you'll find me there a lot now.
Awesome. Find your Michelle Pfeiffer lookalike on LinkedIn.com then, and enjoy the process. Vision Pros, it's always great to serve you. If you need anything, let us know. Subscribe, like, review. We would love that. We appreciate you very much. And we will see you on the next episode. Susan, thank you for being here today.
Thanks so much, Jackson.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention